Mr. President, I rise today to talk about legislation that would support our first responders, specifically those who work on our urban search and rescue teams. These are FEMA task forces around the country that are staffed by volunteers, brave individuals who are willing to go into danger, who are willing to go to places like the aftermath of 9/11 as they did, or Katrina as they did. We just had the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks here on the floor, and many of my colleagues came on the floor and talked about how much they appreciate those first responders who responded for us. They talked about the virtues of them, how they put their lives on the line to rescue victims. Those heroes included members of our urban search and rescue teams. Like we all do, I remember where I was on 9/11. I was here in Washington. My wife was in for a rare visit. The morning 9/11 happened, she got, I think, the last Enterprise rental car out of town and went straight home to be with our 3 kids, to let them know that they would be safe. As she was driving back to Ohio on a Pennsylvania highway, she saw flashing lights coming the other way. It was Ohio Task Force 1, and she recognized the truck right away because we knew a lot of the members of that task force. The lights were flashing as they went into danger. They were driving to 9/11. They were there for weeks. Some were there for months. Again, they put their lives on the line for all of us. Every place around the country, these task forces are staffed by the same brave individuals. Not just brave, but really highly skilled. I think about the bravery of people like Chief Jeff Payne of Ohio Task Force 1 immediately left his family and he went to the World Trade Center. We think about men like Ray Downey, one of the architects of FEMA's urban search and rescue program. Ray gave his life that day on 9/11 so that others could live. I think about so many around the country who are not just brave, again, but highly skilled, do extraordinary work. They bring specialized skills that most first responders wouldn't have, skills like heavy rigging or the ability to lift large and heavy objects like iron beams or concrete walls, skills that were needed at the World Trade Center. They're absolutely critical to the future of our emergency response. They also went to Katrina to save lives there. They're volunteers. They leave their families on a moment's notice when they're needed for this vital support. And again, on 9/11, some lost their lives in service. These families who were affected by that want to be sure that when those members deploy, at the risk of their health, their employment, and their personal liability, when they put it all on the line, that we're there for them. That's what this legislation does. It doesn't have to be the way it is now, because we could put legislation in place that would take a lot of those concerns away, give people more peace of mind, protect these first responders from lawsuits, from medical expenses, and job loss as a result of their service. The legislation is called the National Urban Search and Rescue Response System Act. It is something that FEMA asked this Congress to do after 9/11. It took Congress a while to get through it, but we finally put together legislation with FEMA over the last year and a half. The legislation was worked on by Republicans and Democrats alike. It's been totally nonpartisan. The co-author of this legislation is Tom Carper, who's the ranking Democrat on the Homeland Security Committee. The Homeland Security Committee has passed this legislation, not with a vote of Democrats and Republicans on each side, but unanimously, with Democrats and Republicans working together. We actually passed the legislation unanimously back on May 25th. The support not only has the support of Homeland Security and Government Affairs Chairman Johnson, Ranking Member Carper, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Mike Bennett, Senator Dianne Feinstein, but it's also just common sense. This is exactly the kind of legislation we should be passing around here. It has the support of FEMA, the strong support. They're the ones who worked with us to put this together because they want to codify what current rules are and expand those rules and clarify them. It has the strong support of the International Association of Firefighters. And they're wondering, why can't we get this done? It also has the support of Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson, with whom I spoke yesterday in a public hearing about this very bill. She said, yeah, he said, let's get it done. He wants us to complete this project. He testified before us yesterday, what will probably be his last testimony as Secretary before the Homeland Security Committee, and he said, let's get this done. Despite this unusual and strong bipartisan support on a critical bill to help these first responders, we can't seem to get it done. After getting out of committee on May 25th with a unanimous vote, we then took it to the floor. We, in fact, over the last couple of weeks, have had it as a hotline, meaning you ask your colleagues whether you're okay with it passing, and of course, there's been no concern at all about the substance of the bill. So on our side of the aisle, no concerns were raised. Over the last couple of weeks, and by the way, it took 1 day to hotline it, 1 day to hotline it on our side, of course, because there's no controversy about it. On the other side of the aisle, we've been asking every day. I've been asking my colleagues, including Tom Carper and Cory Booker, who want to get this done, if they can help. They've said there seems to be a hold on it. They say it's an anonymous hold. In other words, somebody is objecting to it over there on the other side of the aisle, but they won't come forward and say that they're objecting to it. To me, that's wrong. And that's why a couple days ago I said I was going to come to the floor and ask unanimous consent and find out who could possibly be objecting to this. My colleagues asked me if I could give them a couple days to check it, so I have. So I didn't do it day before yesterday when I had planned to. I didn't do it yesterday because they wanted more time to check on it. They continue to tell me that there's a hold and it's an anonymous hold. I hope it's not for political purposes. That would, of course, be an incredible disservice to these first responders. If they think that these task force members should come home from saving lives and have to pay for expensive injuries or health problems acquired in their service, we should have a conversation about that. If they think they shouldn't have a job waiting for them when they get back, we should have a conversation about that. But frankly, in my view, I don't think that's the issue. I can't imagine on the substance anybody objects to this. So let's get this done. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that we get it done, that the Senate proceed to immediate consideration of Calendar 578, S2971. Further, that the committee reported amendment be agreed to, the bill as amended be considered and read a third time and passed, and that the motions to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table.